Hope you're all doing well today, guys. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install your Glock iron sights properly. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and share. A couple tools you'll need today to install it. One is a Glock front sight post, 3/16 thin-walled hex bit. It has a little magnet in there, which is nice. I got this off Amazon. It's probably like 10 bucks. You can buy it in a set with a small little punch to take down your lower. Also, I have this Vism rear sight tool. It was like $60 on Amazon, which this is a cheaper one, but it still worked great. I've installed a ton of different sights with this. It comes with a case, some different plastic pieces, and an Allen key. You can bolt this down if you want. You can also stick the slide in a vise and use a punch and hammer the rear sight out. I don't like that method as much because you're clamping down on the slide, and then also trying to punch out the sight is a bit of a pain, and having to put the sight in and trying to adjust that. It's a little bit harder to make smaller adjustments on your rear sight to get your front and rear eyeballed or lined up straight. This last one here I have is a Hornady digital caliper. This is not necessary. You can just eyeball your sights to make sure that they're in line and that the spaces are equal on both ends. But I like using this digital caliper. It helps me measure the distances on the front and rear sight to make sure that I'm lined up properly. I just got my slide milled by C&H Precision. I like their milling service because it allows you to Cerakote just the cut area, and you can still use your factory slide finish. Iron sights I'm going to be installing today are the Glock OEM steel front and rear sight. These are actually pretty inexpensive. I got them for like $40 off eBay. I've always used Ameriglow iron sights because they make great stuff until I heard of these Glock steel sights, so I wanted to give them a try. These are going to sit below the optic glass, so none of it will be showing. I shoot occluded anyways, so it's not really going to matter that much. If something happens to the optic, I'll just take it off. These are the white ones. It has that white little piece, and then it has a Glock symbol right there, which is pretty cool. And then same for here. They feel pretty durable and nice. First thing you want to do, hit your mag release, take your mag out of your gun. Next thing I'm going to do is pull the slide all the way back. You can hit your slide release up to hold your slide back. There's 3 ways to ensure you're clear. Most people just check in the chamber and make sure you have an empty chamber, but there is 2 other ways. You can check your extractor right here to make sure that there is no round hooked to your extractor, and then you can look down in your mag well to make sure that there's no rounds sitting loosely in there. But we do have an empty chamber, which is the most important part. I'm gonna pull my slide to the rear, which allows my slide release to come down, and then I can just let it go forward. That's just a little bit easier on the slide. After that, I'll go ahead and pull the trigger. Then I'll go ahead and pull the slide back just a hair. I'm gonna pull my takedown pins down, let my slide go forward, and then push it all the way off. I'll go ahead and set this aside. Next thing I'm gonna do is take out the spring. I'll go ahead and depress it towards my left hand and pull up a little bit. The spring will come free. Then I will take the barrel. I'm gonna slide it forward a little and pull up on that, and that barrel will come out. You can do either one first, but I'm going to do the front sight. I'm just going to go ahead and unthread that screw. I'll go ahead and take some thread locker. This is Vibrotite 122. It's the oil and solvent resistant. You are going to want thread locker on your front iron sight because they can break or pop off easily. Just going to go ahead and put that around there. Get some all the way around. On the front sight post, it has that little oval that matches the front. That's how I'm going to set it in there. And then also it has the white dot, which I want facing towards the rear. Just like that, you'll feel it click in. After that, I'm going to turn it over. You can just let it rest on the iron sight. I'm going to take my Glock front sight post tool, and then I can just stick that in there just like that. Then you can go ahead and tighten that in there. I'm going to get it just snug enough to where it stops moving. From the side of it, it looks pretty straight. You can see how it's coming to the right a little bit. You can just eyeball it, which that looks pretty good, and then I would finish tightening it, but I'm going to go ahead and use that digital caliper. I'm just going to turn it on with the closest groove right there that is in line with the front of the iron sight. That's where I'm going to be putting the edge of this. I'm going to rotate that knob and kick this middle rod out, and I'm just barely going to touch the front sight post, and then I will read it, and I will do that for both sides. I'll just line it up right there on the bottom point. I'm going to extend it out. It says 10.93 millimeters, and then I'll flip it over to the other side, which this is harder to show, and I'll do the same thing there. which that moved a little bit. You have to make sure the front sight post is tight enough to where it won't move. And take that again, just right above the top. I'm gonna touch it. And I'm pretty close, but I'll go back and forth, take a few more measurements. If I get about the same measurements on 2 or 3 good takes with the caliper, then I'll go ahead and say that's good and finish tightening that down with the front Glock tool. After I got a few good takes with the caliper, since I'm tightening it right, the front sight usually wants to turn to the right as well. So you just want to hold the front sight post in place, kind of stabilize the slide while you're tightening that down. Just like that, get it all snugged up. We can see that looks pretty straight there. If you're eyeballing it, just try to have the same distance on either side of the front of the iron sight post. So from here to the edge where it's black, you just want about the same distance. And on the other side as well, from the left side of the front sight post to the black, you want that about the same distance. Next thing we're gonna do is the rear iron sight. So for this Vism, I'm just gonna unscrew this top all the way. That's what clamps down onto the slide, holds it flat and steady. I'm gonna do the same for these as well. I'm gonna turn it in from the right to the left, but you're gonna want that turning on the right side, just about right there. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of thread locker on here, just something to keep it in there. Just some like that, right where it's sitting. And I'll go ahead and put that on the rear too. Go ahead and slide it back in as much as I can get it in there. Slide it back in the tool. Make sure that it is lined properly, that my bottom dial is set. I'm going to hold pressure on the front to make sure it's flat and go ahead and tighten that clamp down. If you have those front sight posts or any posts in there, try not to clamp on top of that. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten my 2 side pieces. This is gonna clamp the slide from the sides. Make sure those are tight. Make sure that I'm still where I wanna be and this piece is not going to be scratching the slide. And I'm going to turn this and it will start to push it over. I went ahead and readjusted a little bit because my slide was a little bit too low. So go ahead and keep pushing that over. Then I'll go ahead and take a Q-tip, wipe away that thread locker I put in there so I can see how much surface area is on each side, and that's how I can eyeball it from inside the vise so I can get it as close as possible. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little flashlight, shine it in there, and then I can see how much surface area is on each side. I wanna get the surface area as close as possible. So I can see on the right side, it's right on the edge, but on the left, I have a little bit more room to go. So I'm gonna keep turning that just a little bit more, and that looks pretty close. So I'll go ahead and loosen the tension on that, take my slide out. I'm gonna loosen this all the way up. So I'll take that out, wipe these edges again. On either side, that's pretty close of the surface area left. That looks pretty good as is. This right side looks like it has a little bit more surface area right here than the left. But if you're eyeballing this, I would say it's pretty good as is. And you wouldn't have to use the digital caliper, but I'm going to anyways. So for the rear sight, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just pick a surface that you can use for both sides. I'm going to use this little rib right here, the serration, because I can't actually get down in there. So I'm just gonna measure it off this back serration and this back flat piece. And then I'll push it to the bottom of that. 1.4. Got 1.39 for that, so that's pretty good. And that was just one take, but I'm going to keep confirming to make sure. My measurements were pretty good and that looks pretty in line. Last thing to do is just put it back together. Go ahead and take my barrel, slide it in like that, and then you can let it drop in, just pull it back, it'll clip in place. Take my guide rod, take the circle part, put it in the circle. Now I'm gonna depress it and then push it down. So there's 2 clips right there on the barrel. You just want to make sure it's on the bottom one. After that, I can line up these rails with those little notches right there, just like that. Go ahead and slide it back, and it hits the back of the slide, so you just have to push it a little bit towards the right, and then you can pull it back the rest of the way. You will need to cock it back because you heard that click right there, and then it's good. You can just make sure that everything still functions and it feels good to me. So iron sights look good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I can install my red dot. And with this Glock one, the tip of the screw actually comes up. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and share to help support the channel. Thanks for watching.